Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Copilot Compass, where each week we take a deep dive into Microsoft 365 Copilot. As always, I have the pleasure of being joined by my esteemed colleague, fellow Copilot enthusiast, and resident smart guy, Logan.
Thanks, Grant. Happy to be here.
Logan, why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit more about what they can expect in this week's episode?
Yeah, so as always, we'll get started with our question of the week, and then we'll get into our topic, which is how Copilot can help the hiring process, specifically like kind of from the lens of the HR perspective. So yeah, should be interesting. I'm excited to get into it. Yeah, make sure you stay tuned to the end to get a sneak preview of what we have coming out next, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. This will be a fun one. I think, anybody that's been a part of the hiring process before knows there's a lot of pain points there. Definitely a very time-consuming process. I was reading an article last week that was saying that, in the IT industry, it costs a company between $15,000 to $20,000 to hire somebody. So,
Yeah.
definitely a good area to look at AI. We're even going to share some use cases today that don't require that full-blown M365 Copilot SKU. You can use this with Copilot Chat, and so excited to show you guys some of that today. Let's dive right in.
Let's do it. Okay, so let's get into our question of the week. And remember, you can leave your own question as a comment on this video or by emailing the email address in the description. So this week is, can Copilot remember our past discussions?
Ah, yes. Yeah, this is a common question that comes up at events that we do. So the answer is kind of. I know, like, and we'll stick strictly to, we're talking to business people here, so we'll stick with, kind of the pro accounts here, or, the ones that work with, your enterprise SKUs. So that is being rolled out. It's a bit of a process. Now, they had initially not set that up by design, and it was really just due to security considerations. I think, Microsoft has really done a good job in comparison to its competitors with the security with these LLM Gen AI types of models. So, that is the plus, but, it was limiting, its storage of, prompts that you've done or your writing style, things like that. Again, that is being rolled out. I know one of the other reasons that they'd kind of waited on that, besides that, those security considerations, was also wanting to make sure that employees themselves would have the ability to understand if Copilot was remembering or not, and also to be able to, have the individual be able to turn it off and on. So again, new stuff that's coming out here, but our understanding is that is, slowly being trickled out globally.
Yeah. Yeah, super cool feature. Like, I mean, I'm excited for it to come to Copilot. I can already think of like, a ton of different use cases for it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch in the future on how it all develops.
Yeah, I think the writing style one is helpful. I mean, it's easy enough to just kind of tell Copilot, hey, can you rewrite this way? But having it kind of remember that is going to be a good thing for us. And then when you need something a little bit out of your style, you simply ask, hey, make it more professional, make it more concise, put it in bullet points in a table. All that's still going to be available for you. So yeah, appreciate Microsoft thinking of the security, but definitely excited to see this one coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, should we get into our hiring stuff?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome, let's do it.
Cool.
All right, so we're going to talk about Copilot for the hiring process, and we've got two good demos for you. First one is going to be about the kind of the pre-posting, I'm calling it, experience. So, using Copilot to help you build out a really good JD, also to maybe help you a little bit better understand what you might be looking for compensation-wise for a position where it's maybe not like a core position that you're hiring for all the time, or maybe you're hiring in a new location that you're not familiar with. So kind of helping you get a little bit more prepared for what you might be looking for in candidates in those new areas or those new roles. But again, the main value here is going to be building out a really good JD and understanding, kind of getting some coaching from Copilot and what you might want to look for in candidates. So that's our first crow's nest. Second crow's nest is going to be on preparing for the interview process. So we're going to talk a little bit about using Copilot to help, interviewers prepare for the day of, like building some interview questions, maybe getting some background information on the, previous employers that this person's worked for. A couple of options there. Now, I will say that the demos that we have for you today are available to you if you are just simply a Copilot chat user on that free SKU. They will be enhanced with M365 Copilot. So you're gonna, like for an example, if I'm building out a job description and I'm an M365 Copilot user and I've got that Microsoft Graph grounded data, it's going to pull in, benefits package information that we have that's, maybe from previous job descriptions or from our HR manuals. It can also pull in like text about the company that we might have sort of behind the scenes. That's even possible if you're using like third party platforms for recruiting, like something like a Zoho Recruit or, one of those other platforms that's available out there, with those connectors, you might be able to pull in information based on previous positions that you've hired for. So again, both of these, regardless of whether you're a fully licensed M365 Copilot user or not, you can get some value out of these demos, and certainly some ones that we found valuable. So excited to share these with you. Let's jump right into it.
Do it.
All right, so our first scenario here, this is going to be, I'm going to demo this with Copilot. This is basically the Copilot chat experience because I've got the web tab selected here, so it's not grounded in the work data. So this is going to be available, what we're doing today is going to be available for you whether or not you have that full M365 Copilot license. So let's lay the groundwork here. So we are going to build a job description based on some vague bullet points. I think, for us, the scenario here might be that we're getting some requirements coming from like a stakeholder, like maybe it's an account manager or somebody in the sales process. Hey, we need this person. And you're getting like 3 or 4 bullet points like, hey, project management experience 5 to 7 years. They need to be located in this area. They need to be familiar with this technology, but it's like very basic, right? And I can't post on LinkedIn 4 bullet points and boy, I don't know what talent acquisition would come back with me with just that information. So we're going to help flush out a full-blown JD. So Logan, I'll put you on the spot here. What's the position that we're going to hire for here today?
How about it's a like a loudspeaker company, and we're looking for a new engineer for designing speakers. So they need to be familiar with electronics, audio design, stuff like that.
Okay, so it's a loudspeaker company, let's say based in, you're in LA, so we'll say Los
Yep.
Angeles. And you said it's an engineer?
Yeah.
Okay, so help me build. Okay, and you said what are they going to be doing?
They're going to be, I guess, like designing new speakers for the company.
Okay. And what do we need? Do we need a bachelor's degree, master's degree, no degree?
Yeah, let's say a bachelor's degree.
Um, we'll say master's preferred. Any certifications we need to have?
Probably. I'm not too familiar with the the
Okay.
exact sort of.
That's what we'll have Copilot help us here. So
Okay,
let's
cool.
first get this first JD out.
That makes well.
What else do we think? Maybe we'll say um, PMI, PMP, preferred, but not required. Anything else come to mind?
Um.
You know what? I got one more. Let's say that we use Jira for our project manager, so they must have Jira experience.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, what were you going to say? I cut you off.
Yeah. Should we include like minimum of X number of years of previous experience in the industry or something like that?
Okay. So we put together a few things here. I think commonly for us, this might be like in the form of bullet points, but we've got a few things we're just kind of brain dumping out there, and let's see what we have here. So we took some basic information. We're taking a look at it. So this is where I'll highlight a difference here. So if we had done this with the work tab, it's going to pull in information about my company because it's grounded in Graph. In this case, it didn't. We made up a theoretical company. We also got the web tab picked up. So we've got the job type, location, job title, um, loudspeaker design engineer. So here's an about us section that it kind of made up. Now this is where if you're using the chat, you might want to Either cut and paste info that you've had from previous job descriptions if you're, hiring all the time, or, feed it some information. I've got the position overview. Anything you're seeing here that you want to change? Oh, so you can see here it has some proficiency in acoustic modeling and simulation tools and reference some. So that's what I was actually going to ask it to pull in some relevant certifications. But okay, um, boy, this is actually not bad for the first time. Anything you see you want to change here?
Um, then
Let's say we add a 401k match
mhm.
up to 6%. And we'll just go with that. I think what we have is pretty good, and honestly, neither of us are too familiar with engineering of loudspeakers. You picked a doozy of one for us, so
Yeah.
all right, so now we've got it. Let's say we're good to go with this one. So, we can download this into a PDF. It can help us format this for certain job boards. Commonly for us, this is going to be, we're going to copy this information, probably change it, modify it a little bit, and then we're going to post it in through, our platforms that we're going to use for hiring. So, we've got a pretty good JD going here. Let's say we might want to, let's say this is not a position we've hired for recently. We're not sure what the salary range is. So maybe we want to ask Copilot, help me understand what the salary range should be for this position in this location. Just be a little bit more specific. Probably would have picked up on the fact that we want Los Angeles, but
Mhm.
since it's an expensive area, we'll be a little bit more clear. Okay, so it's telling us, lower 25th percentile is like 143. We're looking about 151. Higher end might be in the 160s. Looks like even high 160s. So, yeah, this gives us a little bit better of an understanding. So what we'll do is we're gonna we'll take a break on this particular demo. We're gonna come back in our next crow's nest and talk about preparing to interview for this position. Sound good?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so our job description's up, we've posted, we've done some screening, and we've got some candidates ready to go. Now, let's say Logan and I are the first, the L1, like that first level interview panel. And we've got some questions that we usually like to go through. We've got a good flow for interviews, but maybe this is a position we don't interview a lot for. So this is where we might want to ask Copilot to help us prepare for the interview. So one simple question we might ask is, give me 10 interview questions I can use for this position. So this one's simple. You can be specific too, like I've done. Hey, I want behavioral interview questions, or what types of questions might I want to ask about their experiences, stuff like that. So this is just basically, hey, give me 10 questions. So um, let's take a quick look at what we have. So they actually gave us, looks like they split them out by competency. So we've got technical and engineering skills, an example, what tools and software do you typically use for acoustic modeling and simulation? How have you used them in past projects? So we got some project management ones, and then we've got some industry and innovation awareness questions. So looking pretty good. I can add these to my bank of already existing interview questions, or shoot, you know what? I can say, hey, give these in a flow that would make sense for an interview. And then I've got, my interview ready to go. Another one that you might want to use, especially again, in positions you don't hire for all the time. I might want to ask, what should I look for in a good candidate for this position? And just trying to help me, I probably going into it, I'm saying like, hey, I want to have industry experience, or, maybe there's certain technologies that I really want to make sure that they've got good experience in. But this might be another one that was kind of like, okay, I feel like I'm ready. Let me have Copilot sort of double check and make sure I'm dotting my T's and crossing my I's as I go into it. So maybe this acoustic engineering knowledge, that makes a lot of sense. We already were preparing to ask that question, but then this prototype and testing, like, hey, maybe we didn't think of that. We didn't add it to the job description that we wanted this particular experience, but we should ask about it in the interview, because it's one of those things that, hey, somebody with industry experience could probably learn it on the job, but it'd be even better for us if we've got somebody that's done this in the past or led these types of initiatives. So again, a good one to sort of supplement our understanding of the position and help us make sure that we, really are ready to go for that interview, and that we're, making sure we've got all the components covered in a good candidate here. So super helpful. Again, I did all of this just using basically the Copilot chat iteration here. So the web-based version, so available for all of you guys to use there today. And it would just be a little bit enhanced if we were doing this in M365 Copilot, because it would have that work grounding. So hopefully you found some of these demos useful. In today's journey of the Copilot Compass, we talked about using Copilot to help you in what can always be a painful process for most companies, the hiring and talent acquisition process. In particular, we demoed 2 use cases for you today. We talked about building a job description and helping you sort of prepare for posting a position. And then we also talked about preparing for the interview process and trying to make sure that you really know what you're looking for in a good quality candidate for a role, especially if it's something that is a newer position for you or something that's not kind of part of your core hiring process. Again, we demoed both of these using the web-based version. So this is, kind of, you can cut and paste these demos and apply it even if you are not a fully licensed Microsoft 365 Copilot user. We also, as we went through that process, talked to you about where Microsoft 365 Copilot would bring additional value as compared to Copilot chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I've personally never been in a position to, hire people, but I can imagine that it's a lot of work, especially, in multiple different positions, and whoever the person's hiring is probably not going to be an expert in all the different, like kind of subdivisions that you might be looking for in a candidate. So, it could be really helpful to, yeah, kind of give you a kickstart in the hiring process. Yeah, so if you enjoyed our demos, do us a favor and like, subscribe, and comment. Remember, we have our Q&A sessions where you can submit your own questions. And new episodes are released weekly on Tuesday. And stay tuned to get a sneak preview of what we have coming out next.
Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.